Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
That's right. Now listen to the music for another 15 minutes while I just figure out what day it is. Oh, we got a tropical storm on the way. You know that? I know that. I didn't know that until just a few minutes ago, but I know that now. Oh, good morning, America and the world, and wherever you happen to be. It is Friday. Made it through another week. Well, almost a couple hours, and we could say we made it through another week. Or maybe you have 8 hours to go or 10 hours to go, but you're almost there. Congratulations. Today is Friday, September 22nd, 2023. Yesterday, I was wrong by saying yesterday was the last full day of summer. They moved the autumnal equinox. I didn't know it moves, but apparently overnight, in the early morning, 2:50 a.m., will be when the equinox happens now. When I got married 15 years ago yesterday, it was at 7:20 p.m. Eastern time, when the equinox finally actually happened. But now it's going to happen on the 23rd at 2:50 a.m., which is, tonight really, but overnight in the morning. Anyway, so today is the final day of summer, and tomorrow we are in the Northeast where we are, where Long Island, where I am. We're going to get bashed with a tropical storm. What's the name of the tropical storm? Bean Flicker? Tropical storm Bean Flicker, yeah. They don't say. Brewing tropical storm hours from, I don't know. They don't say the name of it. You get used to them calling it names. I'm fine with them not having names. I always thought it was stupid to name storms, but now I'm used to it, and they don't give me the name. Anyway, and it's going to last like 4 days here, which is going to suck. We had a big show planned for tomorrow night. A lot of the people aren't coming because I can't drive in that weather. So kind of depressing. It's weird how nature will flip a switch on you, and it will go from last week. It was still 90 degrees here, and tomorrow it's going to be cold and rainy, and Sunday is going to be cold and rainy, and Monday is going to be cold and rainy. Tuesday is finally going to be a little bit of sunshine, but still chilly. Autumn is here. 6 months till spring. That's the way I look at it. People say, well, don't rush things. I don't like fall and winter. Well, fall isn't so bad. The first half of fall isn't so bad. Let's just say I don't like the 4.5 months between the second part of fall and all of winter. That's what I don't like. Anyway, today we have a show. Willie is back watching Sioux Fall in Sioux Falls. So he probably won't be here today, but you never know. He can be tenacious. So you never know. He might pop in. We have 2 guests scheduled. A.X. Foster, and I wonder what the X stands for. X-Man. A.X. Foster, who is a lawyer and an author, prosecutor, now defense attorney, uh, has tried some really high-profile cases in Washington, D.C. area. He's got a book out called Gavel to Gavel, a murder mystery legal thriller, book 1 of the Seneca Courthouse series. And we'll talk to him. And then in the second hour, Andrea Vicuña, who is a Los Angeles-based stand-up comedian, actress, and filmmaker. And she's a very entrepreneurial artist, and she'll be with us. I hope I pronounce her name. Vicuña. I think it's Vicuña. You want me to just keep saying Vicuña all day, right? Vicuña, Vicuña, Vicuña. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right, and she could slap me down. But you know what? I can handle it on a Friday. Dealing with nightmares with Facebook for friends. It's not even my nightmare, but I know they're trying to get me too. I'm getting emails, scam emails, phishing emails, trying to get my password so they can steal my pages. And what happened was the Goldust Woman page, Goldust Woman band is my friend's band, and she was at band rehearsal and got an email that said, "You need to change your password. Your thing has been compromised." She did that, and somebody stole. It was a scam. Somebody stole the fan page for Goldust Woman band. Now they're not doing anything on Goldust Woman band, but posting as her pornographic stuff to different groups and stuff like that. And it's a nightmare dealing with Facebook support to try to get this stuff fixed, reversed, whatever. Facebook needs better support. I think everybody would agree on that. Facebook needs better support. But how do you support 6 billion users, whatever they have? And it's up there. Believe me, that's not an exaggeration. It's probably close to 6 billion accounts on there. Now, some of them are bots, obviously. But how do you provide support for that many people at a cost where you don't have to start charging people? And if you start charging people, then people leave, and the whole business model is to shit anyway. I don't know what the answer is, but they have to find a way to support people better. And when shit like this happens, the other thing is, don't just click on emails. Don't just if somebody sends you an email that says your account has been compromised. Don't just click it right away. Think about it. Read the address it came from. In the scams that I got, it says Meta Business. It comes from the email address Meta Business Office /facebook.com/outlook.com. It's somebody set up a long email address that would make you think, if you just read the first half of it, that it was legit, but it's not. So be careful out there, and fuck Facebook. Fuck Facebook, fuck Twitter, fuck all of that. On the Twitter stuff, yesterday in Willie's news story, he was talking about that Neuralink stuff that Elmo J. Pudpuller, the proprietor of X, now Twitter, now X, wants to be able to put chips in brains and they're doing experiments, but killing monkeys. I think they're doing it on chimps, the experiments on chimps, but the chimps are all dying. And he's trying to, I don't know, soft sell it as, well, the chimps were dying anyway. We were doing only experiments on chimps that were dying anyway. But I think it's Wired this morning. Do I have that right? Wired, that has a big expose or article on the gruesome story of how Neuralink monkeys actually died. So Elon's, one thing after another, he's going to be under investigation for misuse of government funds and all that stuff with the Ukraine stuff where he shut down Starlink right in the middle of what was an offensive. He's, you know what? He was better off staying out of the limelight. You're staying off of Twitter, not buying Twitter. But you know what? He's not a genius. He thinks he's a genius. I think I'm a genius, and I'm certain because I am a genius that I'm not a genius. If you know what I mean. I'm smart enough to know that I'm stupid. Is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so that's that, and then we have G.D. Fenderson. We're going to play some critical joke theory. GD is a forensic humorist at large. Although he says he's losing weight, he always looks the same every time I see him. He's got a bit for us. So I don't know. It should be an eventful show. I wish Willie luck up there in Sioux Falls. I hope Sue doesn't hurt herself too badly. That is a terrible joke, and I got to learn to stop saying it, but I can't help myself. And Robert Taylor out in Las Vegas, we haven't heard from him. I don't expect to hear from him today, but I am looking forward to hearing from him at the end of this weekend. Probably going to be shot. I think he has some shows Saturday or on the show Saturday. Pretty sure that was the case. My mind, my brain. Also, another motor vehicle department. Fucking bullshit. Insurance. What I'm finding out is that COVID changed the world in ways I had not anticipated. My insurance company, the company that I had been insured with auto insurance, was local. It was right around the block from me forever. But I did not know that they had shut that office down. State Farm, if I can say the name. I just did. What do you mean if I can? I just did. State Farm Insurance closed down the local office, and now it's like 40 miles away. And the only way they do so, is by email. They won't you can't just pop by and get my insurance card for the new vehicle that I'm trying to. So and then they don't respond. When you try, motor vehicles closing by 5, I need these documents, and it just takes forever, and they're not getting back. They took like 4 phone calls to get through to these people just to get my insurance card so that I can go register the new vehicle. By the time I got it, motor vehicle was closed. Looking to do it, I can't register the vehicle online, motor vehicle, and they shut down, because of COVID, permanently shut down my local DMV. So now that's another 40 miles in the other direction. The things we took for granted before COVID, no longer the case. I don't know, a lot of people started working from home and they figured shut down this office, shut down that office. And before you know it, we got no offices, which leads to there's a couple more things here before I go go to a commercial and then bring in our first guest. Another of the looming problems before 2008, people could see people who had eyes and ears on the financial markets could see the Great Recession coming, the housing bubble bursting, that mortgage scam where they were giving mortgages to everybody, even if they didn't deserve them. And sooner or later, that was going to blow up, and everybody knew that was coming. We're in a similar time, and part of it has to do with what I just talked about in business real estate, commercial real estate. With everybody deciding to work from home and businesses changing their models and more people working from home. Right before COVID, I had Dave. What is Dave's last name? Is it Stewart? No, not Dave Stewart. It'll come to me. But Dave was flipping Boston, and then he was a guy who made his millions in flipping real estate and then became a commercial real estate investor. And he was talking about that's where the billions are to be made. But now, no, I say, nay. Because everybody is doing business with workers from home, or a lot of people are remote workers and shutting down businesses, commercial real estate is dying. And strip malls are empty, and high-rise buildings that were office buildings are empty, and none of those rents are coming in, and people are losing their shirt now in commercial real estate, which is not good for you and me. I know even if you don't have any, and I don't have any, at some point, the government, see, this is the problem, folks. The government is going to bail them out. When shit like this happens, the government bails them out. The government money is your money and my money. It's tax money. We pay the price every time that happens. And we pay the price because if they have to give them a subsidy or something to hold them over or a bailout, your taxes will go up. My taxes will go up. We will pay for it. We pay for it on both ends. The consumer, the little guy, you and me. That's part of it. That's part of a fear. And I don't mean to be stoking fears here on a Friday morning when you're getting ready for a weekend where you're going to be, especially if you're on the East Coast, kind of housebound and partying indoors, waiting for the weekend. You want to just relax and forget about this stuff. And I'm bringing it up. Sorry, that's what's on my mind. And the other part of it is the government shutdown that is coming next week. They go through this every fucking time where it's time to work on the budget, and they just keep kicking the can down the road. Congress, and this is a both parties thing, except right now it's the Republicans that are doing it for Donald Trump. They are purposely trying to shut down the government to shut down prosecutions of Donald Trump. But it's going to hurt all of us. It's going to hurt every single person in America. A lot of people who work for the government, you have no idea how many people work for the federal government. All those people are going to stop getting their paychecks. People who process things like your Social Security check, not going to be working, so you're not going to get your checks. A lot of money that would be spent on things to keep the economy rolling is just going to stop. Now, they have 7 more days to get this deal done, and they don't. The Trump party is not going to let it get done. Now, maybe in the end, that will be a good thing. I don't know. I mean, as far as finally drawing a line in the sand for the budget, because at some point we have to stop borrowing and kicking the can down the road and saying we'll fix it 6 months from now, because we've been doing that. Not my whole life, but at least since the 80s. Every time budget crisis comes up, we just pass what is called a continuing resolution, and it just goes further down the road, and we never get to fixing it. My first guest isn't here at 12:50. I've been rambling for 15 minutes, 18 minutes, and AX is not here. I just realized that. Anyway, I'm going to play a commercial, and maybe he'll be here in time. Maybe he won't. I'm not doing 2 guests at the same time at 10 o'clock, a lawyer and a comedian. That would be awkward. Sorry. Maybe there's a mix-up of some sort. Anyway, today's show is brought to you by TrueFire. TrueFire is the best place to learn guitar online. We have a new sponsor coming up on Monday, which teaches a variety of different instruments. We'll tell you about. We're excited about that. But for today, we're brought to you by TrueFire, best place to learn from the masters, and you can learn any kind of style, no matter what your level is at now, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced player. You can learn from TrueFire and improve your skills, and as they say, invite musicality. We'll be right back.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Over 2 million guitar players worldwide learn, practice, and play with TrueFire. Our learning tools and massive library of video lessons will ignite your technical skills, harmonic knowledge, rhythm playing, and soloing chops. TrueFire's educators are the best in the biz, from Grammy Award winners to world-renowned artists. You'll have access to an unparalleled faculty of over 300 top-notch blues, rock, jazz, country, fingerstyle, and acoustic guitar educators. Using our desktop and mobile apps, you'll work with TrueFire's multi-angle video lessons on any device, anytime, anywhere. Integrated learning tools such as video synced tab and notation, slow-mo, looping, practice jam tracks, and many more handy controls accelerate your learning experience. Truthfire's style-specific learning paths guide you every step of the way. Use our assessment tools to find your starting point, then follow our lesson recommendations and track your progress as you work through your personalized Truthfire study plan. Progress faster with private one-on-one instruction, group lessons, multi-track video jams, live streams, song lessons, student forums, Truthfire's Riff magazine, premium jam tracks, and much, much more. With thousands of 5-star ratings and reviews from amateur and pro players alike, you'll find yourself in good company with the world's most comprehensive guitar learning platform. Grab your guitar and ignite your musicality. Sign up free for an all-access trial today.
Yeah, I'm just trying to contact AX right now. I just want to make sure I got everything on my end right. It looks like I do. Um, sorry, folks. This is what happens. This is what happens. It's Friday. Probably forgot. Imagine that, a lawyer, a guy who is dependent upon to keep schedules pretty tight. I mean, you can't forget a court appointment, right? But yeah, I would expect him to have a good reminder for himself of where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be. I guess I'll go down the Gov's schedule this weekend. Now, this is interesting. Dave Smith is at Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, the main room, and this weekend, doing a weekend there. You know Dave Smith, you know me. You know I don't like Dave Smith, not one bit. Got into some pretty heated discussions with him on Twitter. I think he considers himself an intellectual more than a comedian, but he does comedy. He gets up on stage to do comedy. Now, listen, I'm not trying to say don't go to Gov's tonight, but I'm just saying if you go to Gov's, boo, throw stuff, maybe cause a scene, and just yell out "Mind Dog." If you're in the audience for Dave Smith's show tonight, just keep yelling "Mind Dog" at him. I would appreciate that. And if you're going, why? What does he do that's funny? And again, I'm not trying to talk you out of going to Governor's tonight. Go to Gov's. But keep in mind, he's the enemy. Anyway, Tommy Gooch is in the Giggle Room tonight and tomorrow night. Go to see him. You could go to see Dave Smith, but again, if you go to see Dave Smith, yell out "Mind Dog" at him. So that's it. And Charlie Bouquet and friends in the Giggle Room also tomorrow. That's tomorrow night. So, that's what's happening in Levittown now. In Bohemia, Eagle Wit. What's his name? Eagle Wit. I don't know. I've never heard of him, and I'm not saying whether he's good or bad. And that doesn't necessarily the fact that I haven't heard of him make him not great. He could be great. There's lots of great comedians I haven't heard of. Eagle Wit might be one of them. Eagle Wit is doing the weekend over at Bohemia, McGuire's Comedy Club, part of Governor's. And stand-up showcase and evening of laughs. That's tomorrow night. Oh, no, that's tonight. I'm sorry. I got it wrong. Uptown Comedy Show special event tomorrow night there. So a lot going on there over in Bohemia. And one more place to check is the brokerage. Goomba Johnny. Goomba Johnny is at the brokerage tonight. Yeah, just tonight. And then Tommy Gooch tomorrow night. Interesting. And then Dustin Chafin next weekend. So that's what's going on in Gov, folks. I know I've been remiss at listing the Gov stuff for a while. So there you have it. Having some trouble with my email. Every time I need if you're in the New York metro area and you're on Optimum Online, Altice, since they bought it from Cablevision, email is really, really unstable. Problem is, I would get off that and have people use my other email, but it's been so many people have used that for so long. I'm talking about going back to the 90s when I was an executive for Optimum brand, Opt Online. That I've been using this email forever, and to switch would really screw up a lot of people who that's the only way they have to contact me. Oh, he's saying he can't get in. All right, let's see if we can do this. Um, See, now that's good. I sent him the email. Aren't you proud of me? Aren't you happy that I'm doing the right thing for you people? Let's see here. Let's see. Can we do this? I'm sorry, folks. Anyway, I haven't heard from Carl. I was expecting to maybe hear from Carl today, or you know, even yesterday after he was with us 2 days ago. In between Dave and Sarah. Well, by the way, the more I see, and I know Ian's going to get upset if I say this, but the more I see of Dave Landau, the more impressed I am. I think he's one of the funniest comedians working today. And his stuff, I mean, it is definitely not political in any way. If you're just looking for a good laugh on, it's a little dark, it is very blue, and um, it's not constrained by, he doesn't seem to really care about being canceled or anybody coming after him. He's gonna say what he thinks is funny, and I appreciate that. So look forward to more good stuff from Dave, and hopefully he'll be back. He is at Wonders Theater in Myrtle Beach tonight. If you're in the South Carolina and near Myrtle Beach or the coastal area of South Carolina, go see Dave tonight or tomorrow night over over in Myrtle Beach. I think while I'm waiting to see if AX, and what's it, AX Foster can make it in, I think it would be a good time to play Critical Joke Theory, and just in case of what? Just in case he needs my help getting in. That's why I'm talking to myself here. Good morning over there on LinkedIn. Yesterday, people were asking, about LinkedIn, and well, who the hell is on LinkedIn? Uh, well, obviously, we have people on LinkedIn every day. We have a few people over on LinkedIn, and uh, again, I think they're not doing their job. They're sitting at work in their cubicle.
Hello, welcome to Critical
Gonna play-
Joke Theory with your host, G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist. Now with new joke technology. Hi, I'm G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist at large, but I'm losing weight. Welcome to Critical Joke Theory. Now with new joke technology. Former Trump aide Cassidy Hutchinson in her new book claims that Rudy Giuliani groped her on the day of the attack on the Capitol. Nosferatu, my bad. Rudy Giuliani initially denied the claim, then exclaimed, "Insurrections make me so horny." Lauren Boebert was unceremoniously removed from a performance of Beetlejuice. Vape, flash, dance, Senora, show up your behind. Act like an ass, Senora, toe your party line. Don't try this at home. Boba juice. Boba juice. But, okay. Rupert Murdoch has stepped down as the chair of Fox News. At his exit interview, Rupert Murdoch stated, "I've done enough damage. My work here is done." 3 men were found not guilty in the final trial in the plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Eric Molitor and twin brothers William and Michael Null, also known as the Null Set, were accused of supporting the leaders of the kidnapping plan by participating in military-style drills and traveling to surveil Whitmer's second home in northern Michigan's Antrim County, thus making the governor a Yooper. The people of Michigan are divided up into two groups: Yoopers, those who live above the Mackinac Bridge, and Trolls, those who live below the bridge. At least that is the way it used to be. Now there is a third group that lives under the rocks: Trumpers. Special counsel Jack Smith has asked for a limited gag order for Trump in the 2020 election interference case. Jack Smith is concerned that Trump may taint the jury pool, like Trump taints every other pool that he's been in. Kitty, Sess, Jean. Hunter Biden is suing the IRS, alleging that agents illegally released his tax information.
What?
The agents claim that they only wanted to release his dick pics, which were filed under charitable contributions. There is a manhunt underway for suspected killer Kevin Mason after he was accidentally released from an Indianapolis prison due to a clerical error. Officials did not inform the public for 6 days that Mason was loose, stating that it was part of their strategy to catch him. The first part of their strategy was to release him so that they could catch him. Texas Attorney General Kevin Paxton was acquitted by the Texas Senate. He is still under investigation by the FBI. The new GOP. If you're not being investigated, you're not trying. ABC News was reporting all 5 Iranians that were freed in the U.S.-Iran prisoner swap decided to not return to Iran. After weighing life in Iran versus the great treatment ex-cons received in the U.S., they decided to stay in the U.S. This just in. Oh, sorry. Ow.
Breaking joke.
Pet me. And feed me. Okay. Ex-President Trump claims that President Biden will start World War II. President Biden addressed the UN and averted World War II. Whew, that was close. Israel and Saudi Arabia talks are progressing. Look for the new Netanyahu Ben Salman buddy movie, Semite Tough. The Senate has relaxed its dress code. The GOP opposes the new dress code, stating allowing casual clothing on a Senate floor disrespects the institution we serve and the American families we represent. They prefer to disrespect the American people the old-fashioned way, ignoring what they need and removing their rights. ABC News reports that ex-President Trump used the back of classified documents to take notes. Critical Joke Theory is reporting that Trump wrote his NDA with Stormy Daniels on the back of his marriage license. Johnny Mims, the band leader of Birmingham High School, was tased by police during the traditional fifth quarter celebration. The police asked Mims to stop the band from playing, and Mims told the officer to get the funk out of my face. Mims was tased 3 times by the officer. He's lucky they didn't tase the brothers Johnson. Get the funk out of my face. Brothers Johnson.
We got it.
Okay. My people think it's funny.
Yeah, I guess I'm one of those people.
I'm G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist, now with new joke technology. Thank you for watching Critical Joke Theory. Be safe out there and don't feed the crazies. Critical Joke Theory with your host, G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist, now with new joke technology.
Oh, what the heck happened there? Anyway, GD, thank you for your piece. Any backlash on that, you can send the email directly to GD. We appreciate him. Also, those pieces are available on his own channel. My guest has arrived, and just in the nick of time, I guess you would say. A.X. Foster is the author of Gavel to Gavel, a murder mystery legal thriller, and first book in the Seneca Courthouse series. Mr. Foster draws inspiration and material from his time as a former top prosecutor in a major Washington, D.C. area a state's attorney office, and is current working as a criminal defense attorney. And it looks like he just turned his camera off. I wonder if he's back there. AX, are you there? No, we just lost him. How about that? He was here and he's gone. Oh, well. Well, he's back. Let's see if we got him now. Can we?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks for coming.
That's cool. I just had to turn off my Bluetooth and get back with you.
Okay, well, thank you for coming. I just introduced you and your book, and thank you for coming. It's great to have you here. Now, happy Friday morning. Are you in the Washington D.C. area now?
Right.
You're practicing as a defense attorney?
Yeah, I'm starting to wind down my private practice. I was a prosecutor here for 20 years, and then I opened up my own law firm, and I've been doing that for about 15. So it's been about 35 years in the courtrooms around here.
And was being an author always part of the plan, or it's just something that you kind of gravitated towards later in your career?
I've always been a reader and a writer. Both of my parents, my mom was a novelist and my dad was a newspaper editor. So we grew up with words and reading and books. I went to law school. My life kind of went in a different path. And I didn't start writing this murder mystery novel until COVID came about 3 years ago and kind of shut down the courthouse for a while. It gave me the time to write a manuscript, something I've always wanted to do. And then it kind of took off from there.
That's interesting because I was talking about COVID's impact that I had not realized until just yesterday. When you go to do something within the system, you realize that a lot of offices got shut down, some of them permanently. In my area, some government offices, they just consolidated and just closed some offices. But that, there are so many ways that impacted our life and people's careers and people working from home. I was talking about how it affected the commercial real estate industry in a huge way, and that's a bubble that I'm afraid of. But I'm going to cut to the chase here now. As a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, have you dealt with homicide cases?
Yeah, I think homicides, well, we called it major crimes. So I didn't work exclusively homicide, but I've had over 100 jury trials. Probably 25 of them were murder trials. I also did a lot of child abuse cases, sexual assault cases, and I even carved out a smaller niche in animal cruelty cases,
Wow.
and got to do a lot of those as a consultant in other jurisdictions, but did the first major felony animal cruelty case here in the state of Maryland. So that's some work that I'm very proud of too.
Yeah. Well, thanks for keep trying to keep the public safe, doing what you can to keep the public safe. What I'm really interested in is have you learned anything about the nature of good and evil, the kind of person I ask myself all the time, am I capable of killing another human being? And probably in self-defense or in defense of my family, the answer is probably yes. But if I think about in cold blood or without having those mitigating factors of being under attack or my family being under attack, I doubt I could do it. You looked in the eye of people. I'm assuming even some of the people you defended were probably guilty, but as a prosecutor, I'm assuming probably at least half of them were guilty or more.
Well, all of them were guilty. If I
Yeah, right.
prosecuted them,
That's
I
right.
wouldn't want to prosecute an innocent person. That's for
Well,
sure.
yeah. So, but have you gained any insight into the
Sure.
or
I mean,
good and evil,
the,
and what it takes?
Yeah, I mean, I actually have sat across the courtroom from some truly evil, either sociopathic or psychopathic killers. And then you get a lot of mental health information as well. You see the problems some of these people have had their whole lives. And then you read their psychiatric profiles and you see how truly disturbed certain serial killers or people are. You look at red flags that have generated when they were young. I remember doing juvenile court, and some of the most extreme red flags that tipped off future violent behavior were things like setting fires, being cruel to animals, cutting yourself. I mean, there's certain behaviors that are very prominent red flags on potential future violent behavior. So those are things you learn along the way. As for killing another person, interesting sort of concept you raised. I think we all are inherently capable of that, either in self-defense or in defense of your children. If any of your listeners out there have kids, they can probably remember a time when someone was threatening towards one of their kids, and the emotions that well up in you, you would do anything. I mean, you'd lift a car off a kid who was trapped. You'd go into a burning building to rescue your child. So those kind of human emotions can be generated in an emergency situation. But I think we are all capable of killing, obviously, some more than others, or you wouldn't have soldiers, or you wouldn't have professions that bring you into contact with dead people. You know, a doctor has to deal with people coming in the emergency room and they die right in front of them. A police officer sees terrible things and suffers from PTSD, secondary victimization. As a prosecutor, I was called to many crime scenes where I saw dead bodies who had been shot or stabbed or what have you, in order to protect the crime scene and give advice to any police officers who were there. I've probably seen in the neighborhood of 25 dead bodies, and that includes going to autopsies, which
Yeah.
is something that a normal person would never do unless you were a pathologist. So yeah, being a prosecutor does bring you into a kind of a gloomy, dangerous world at times, but there's satisfaction in protecting the community and in putting someone who's truly dangerous away.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you brought up autopsies and pathology because that was one of my previous careers. I had many previous careers, but when I was in that, it left a psychic scar on me. I mean, having to deal with that constantly, and doctors are really good at compartmentalizing stuff and just understanding that that's not a human being anymore. That's just flesh and bone of what was once a human being. But for me, I couldn't make that separation, and people were all constantly telling me, "You got to get out of that career because it was killing my spirit." Any of that wear off on you from the courtroom of cases that were just so dirty, so ugly that you can't help but take it home with you?
Well, you make an excellent point about compartmentalization. That is really a survival technique that you have to utilize if you're faced with terrible things, like as a pathologist, police officer, soldier, as a prosecutor. I've seen terrible images, child pornography. I mean, I really don't need those images in my memory bank anywhere. And some of the more brutal homicides, the death of little children, a baby who was shaken to death. I think I have successfully put all those ugly images aside in order to focus on the task at hand. But there was one case I did involving a child abuse, a physical child abuse, where a little boy was basically tortured. And I won't get into the details because they're kind of graphic, involving boiling water and so forth. But I have 4 children of my own. And at the time I did that terrible child abuse case, I had my own kids who were happy, safe, loved, well taken care of, you know, in a very good situation. And then all day in court, I had a child who was in the most horrible situation. I remember coming home while doing that trial and just looking at my little daughter. I think she was only 5 or 6 at that time, and just being sort of overwhelmed with the contrast between what I was seeing in the courtroom and what I was seeing in my own home. But that is one that sticks in my mind. The rest I try and file away somewhere. The sexual images of people being raped or, tied up, those kinds of things, nobody needs to have in their brain.
Uh,
But
I
like I say, you've got to do the case and win, and you put that stuff aside.
I want to come back to that idea in just a second, but because how it informs your writing, and we'll get to that. But in case, could you ever allow yourself empathy as a prosecutor, empathy where you've charged somebody, let's say, with third degree homicide, and then you realize that maybe finding out through the discovery of the case, finding out that maybe there were mitigating circumstances and things changed, and maybe drop the charge down to manslaughter or whatever. But any of those kind of things where you allow yourself any kind of empathy with the criminal.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a boss when I first started who was a really excellent. I guess as a prosecutor, you'd say he was liberal if you want to put labels on people. But he taught us when I was young, and now I'm going back 30 years. He said, don't ever call someone in the courtroom an animal or, a monster, because these are human beings. Even the worst of the worst criminal wasn't born that way. Something happened, like Bob Marley has a lyric, the biggest man you ever saw was once a baby. That's true. So sometimes you try to have the empathy and you don't call, you address even the worst criminal, Mr. Jones, Mr. Brown, and you try not to make them dehumanize them,
Right.
because they are humans no
Right.
matter how bad they are. And now when I switched to the defense side and I represented all kinds of people who had done terrible things, it was more insightful because you kind of get an insight into why they did this. Were they suffering from addiction? Were they suffering from mental illness? Were they desperate in some way that they would
Absolutely.
go in a bank and hold it up? So you get more of a full picture, I think, on the defense side
Yeah,
when you do. Yeah.
I'm interested in that too. But now, because you just talked about compartmentalizing stuff and having empathy and stuff, and you put this stuff in you don't want to think about the dirtiest and the ugliest cases that you have. But now you're writing legal thrillers. It actually pays kind of recall some of the stuff you filed away in the dark corners of your mind that you don't want to any of that kind of like having to draw back and relive that stuff and almost re-traumatize yourself about the stuff in the writing part phase of
Well,
it.
it's a very interesting question. I mean, after 35 years inside the courtroom, I certainly have no shortage of stories to tell. But Gavel to Gavel is about a domestic violence homicide where a woman stabs her wealthy husband to death in such a violent manner that blood is actually spattered on the ceiling. And that's how the book starts. So it's not really a whodunit because you know that the wife stabbed her husband. It's more of a why done it. What was her intent? Was it justified in any way? Was he abusive? Was she setting up something to get a huge inheritance? So the rest of the novel is about the trial of this woman for murdering her husband on a first degree murder, not a manslaughter, a first degree murder, which requires premeditation. And that's what the rest of the book is, from gavel to gavel, the crime. Then we go to court, we pick a jury, we put witnesses on the stand. The intent of my book was to make the reader a 13th juror and to listen to the case, to look at the evidence. And I try to balance it out so you don't really know where it's going to go until the verdict comes down at the end of the novel. So
That's
my book is the case from start to finish, from gavel to gavel.
That's interesting now, because could swear there's a case, maybe one of these Netflix documentaries, where there was some evidence of blood on the ceiling, maybe it was the staircase thing where the guy pushed his wife down the staircase or something. But that was a changer in the way they prosecuted or charged the crime. Uh, Interesting stuff there. But stabbing, I think stabbing the homicides are generally an enigma to me, because that's a very personal way to kill somebody. Shooting a gun from at any distance kind of gives you that separation, but stabbing is such a personal, intimate murder.
Yeah,
Uh, and,
no doubt. Even more so, choking someone to death. I mean, where you
ooh,
literally
that
put your
hurts.
bare hands around someone's neck and
Yeah.
choke the life out of them. That's even more personal. Um, but the blood on the ceiling is actually something that I saw with my own eyes in a murder case that I did, where a guy stabbed his wife so many times. The blood gets thrown up on the ceiling because you pull the knife out as hard as you can. Think of having a paintbrush and a can of paint and then pulling the brush out as hard as you can. It sends blood spatter all the way up to the ceiling, even. So I remember going to one of those murder scenes and just going like, "Oh my God, this living room looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. There's blood. There's blood everywhere. How the hell did it get up on the ceiling?" And we
Really?
hired an expert to explain that. But that shows you how violent the emotions are. And there's a concept called overkill. Like, you don't need to stab someone 100 times to kill
No.
them. But the fact that somebody stabbed, like this woman stabbed her husband 50 times, that's really portends of a rage, an
Right.
anger. There's something else going on. A hitman who's killing someone for money professionally is not going to stab someone 100 times.
Right.
So,
It's cold and clean and calculated, and not, it's not personal.
right.
It's business.
It's efficient. It's efficient.
Yeah.
Um, but so the manner of death, the cause of death, these are things a prosecutor and a defense attorney looks for clues. And in my book, that's how it starts. You have to figure out like what is happening. Why did this woman do that? To make my case in the book even more complicated, the only eyewitness to the murder is their 9-year-old daughter, Mandy, who suffers from disabilities. So the prosecutor in my story has to use a disabled child
Wow. Good
as the
stuff.
key witness to a murder, and then everything takes off from there.
Very
So
good
it
stuff.
was fun to write. It was kind of a mix of a bunch of different trials that I have actually done. And it has jury selection, which people are interested in. It has motions. It has a confession that's suppressed, cross-examination, deliberation, and a verdict. And that's works your way through the 400 or 500 pages of the book.
Interesting stuff there. It sounds like a great story. Um, First of all, the book is part of a series, and I want to get this question out because I want to ask about the juror stuff, because you said about making people, making the reader a 13th juror. But before I do that, the book is part of a series. Before you started writing, was it going to be part of a series, or did you just get to the end and say this requires more, a follow-up book?
Well, that's a really good question, and I don't have a simple answer for that. I started writing a book, but then I realized, well, when I got into the whole publishing world, which I didn't know anything about, with publishers and editing and a lot of people offering ideas, it was strongly suggested to me that I do a series, and that's why I called this series the Seneca County Courthouse series. There is no Seneca County, it's fictitious. But I used the same prosecutor and I just changed the crime. It's kind of like the TV show Law and Order.
Right.
The reader gets used to the prosecutor and the detective, and they come to know those characters. And then with each book, they get a different murder case to solve. I've just finished my second book in the series, and we're working on that now with an anticipated release date either early next year. I had thought Christmas, but it looks like it'll be in January of 2024. but it's another Mac McIntyre, that's the name of the prosecutor, mystery. And I kind of think it's a little bit like the Hardy Boys, which I read as a child, and Nancy Drew. You get familiar with the town, the Hardy Boys, they just have
Right.
a different case. And that's kind of like what I'm modeling the Gavel to Gavel series after. And it's working. The second book is really fun. It's called Double Blind, and it's about a drug deal gone bad where the drug dealer gets shot, and a
Wow.
lot of other stuff turns out, like police corruption and even a kind of a shady judge. So I've written the second book in the series. I have a good idea for the third. I'll keep writing them as long as people are interested in reading them.
Who would play Mac McIntyre in the movie or television show?
People said that I should do that role, but I'm afraid I'm a little too old. Um, it would be someone, I always thought Matthew McConaughey in the movie he did was really good as a lawyer in
Yeah,
the
I can't.
Lincoln Lawyer. I kind of see someone like that, someone who's a really charismatic, almost like an actor on a stage is Mac McIntyre.
Matt McConaughey is a great actor, but he's also like crazier than crazy. But it's interesting that you said him. Now I'm going to be thinking of him when I read the
I
book.
see someone like that in my mind when
Yeah.
I think of the lead character.
Now you talked about making the reader the 13th juror, and I might get not to kind of make this a political conversation, but I'm interested in this. But as the 13th juror, they haven't gone through the vetting of can you be all the vetting that jurors need to go through to get on a jury or get off a jury if you're so inclined. Can they be objective, or you don't even know about that. Going in as a 13th juror in your mind, making them a 13th juror, their objectivity, they don't know these people or haven't been exposed to them. But here's the question I have for you. I don't care about your politics. I don't care about any of this. Donald Trump is charged with crimes. Everybody in America has an opinion about Donald Trump, good or bad. Can they pick an objective jury in that case? Is it possible? Because I've been saying this for a long time. I had predicted he would get charged. I thought he would get charged with something, but I didn't think he could ever get to court because I don't think he could ever find 12 people who can say, I don't have an opinion on this already. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, no one is objective because we're all human beings and we've all lived our lives. I mean, you would need a computer or AI as a juror to be truly objective. I mean, you're a man, so you're going to look at male female issues from a man's perspective, no matter how fair you are. You're white or you're black or Latino or Asian. You're going to bring that, obviously, your life experience to your role as a juror. You're going to bring your age, you're going to bring your education, you're going to bring the neighborhood you live in, you're going to bring your life experience. The question that is asked of jurors is not, are you objective? Because no one is truly fully objective. The question is, can you be fair despite all the baggage you may bring with you into the courtroom? And they are going to have a hell of a hard time seating a jury in United States versus Donald J. Trump, because he's the most recognizable, famous or infamous person on planet Earth. There may only be a few other people you could name who would have the notoriety and fame of Donald J. Trump. So the question for the jurors is not going to be, have you ever heard of President Trump? Because if you haven't, who are you? I mean, have you been living under a rock? I mean, we don't want you in the jury. You got to be like Unabomber or some, hermit.
Right.
The question will be, knowing what you know about former President Trump, can you be fair? Even that's going to be a hard hurdle to jump. But that's going to be the question that jurors, at least 12 of them, in DC, in Atlanta, in Florida, and maybe elsewhere, that's the question the jurors will have to answer satisfactorily to the judge.
Yeah, my personal opinion is I could not be fair. I've already made up my mind in that case, and I not that I would purposely be trying to get off that jury, but I have to be honest. I can't be a fair juror in that case, and I think there are a lot of people like me.
Well, then you would get excused. You know, when you do, many of your listeners, I'm sure, have been called to jury duty. I have been called to jury duty, and I always get kicked off because nobody wants a smart ass like me on the jury. But as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, I've sat jurors. I've done the voir dire process countless times where I interview, I look for clues. I try to bring that into Gavel to Gavel. I have 2 chapters devoted on picking the jury. And it's kind of an elaborate card game. The lawyers have to make snap judgments. It changes from state to state. Some states like New York, they allow you to really interview, even cross-examine potential jurors. Where I'm from, you get a list of information and you don't really get to ask any direct questions.
Wow.
You have to ask the judge to ask a question. But one of the ones they ask is, do you think you can be fair? And a lot of people raise their hands and say, no, I think he's guilty already. So those people get thrown off the jury pool fast.
I'm surprised they would even call a prosecutor or a defense attorney. I would have thought it's like calling cops it's just like in New York, I don't think that would happen.
Well, each state is different. Some places you automatically get thrown off if you're an attorney, for example.
Yeah.
But here in Maryland, where I am, I'm just outside Washington, D.C. I'm in sort of the suburbs of D.C. in Maryland. You do not get excused. I think there's only a very few exceptions, like if you're a state senator in session or something like that. But we had a presidential candidate show up in our jury pool who was excused. I've seen generals, I've seen nuns, I've seen all kinds of people, literally,
Wow.
from homeless people all the way up to someone running for president.
Now I wonder how the homeless person got their notification, because you get it in the mail. They don't mail it to like street corner.
Yeah, I mean, maybe at the shelter. Who knows? But yeah, it is a crazy game like blackjack where you have to really deselect your jurors and take people off. And you look, depending on which side you're on. I mean, if you're a prosecutor, cops, family members of cops, military, anyone that believes in a profession with rules, that you have to follow the rules, those are good professions for prosecutors. Now, for defense attorneys, just the opposite. You want people that are rebels, that are, lone wolf types. You want people who are artists, or people who are willing to go against the stream, anti-authority types. So it is a card game, and you never really know these people until later. And I covered that process pretty extensively in the book, Gavel to Gavel. If people are interested, they will enjoy it.
People interested should go to axfoster.com and order the book today. That's what you should do. Now, this is a meaningless question, but I am so curious about it. What does the X stand for?
This is a good question. My name is Alexander, Alex. But when I went to file my book with the Library of Congress, there's another guy named Alex Foster.
Oh, I bet there are.
And I mean, it's not that unusual a name. So I couldn't go with my name. So I decided to use it for my writing career as AX Foster. Now, if you're one of my friends and you can't figure out that AX Foster is Alex Foster, don't even read my book, because you're not going to be able to solve the mystery.
All right. Did the second book come easier than the first book?
Yes, that's a very good question. Much easier, because I already had a structure. I had the courthouse. I had the scene set. I had my protagonist, my prosecutor. I had some secondary characters already in place. And all I had to do was come up with a new murder, a new plot. And I bring in some new characters, a new judge, a new defense attorney, and so on. And also the process of writing was much easier. And I think I'm a better writer. I used to tell my publisher, I may not be a great writer, but I think I'm a really good storyteller. And, and they were like, no, you're a good writer too, but you can get a lot of help. I mean, they have proofreaders, editors, so on.
Right.
What
Yeah.
they can't do is create the story, create the characters. I also have a lot of dialogue in my book. It reads like a play in some parts, particularly the courtroom scenes with cross-examination and questions going back and forth. And I have a good ear, I think, for the way people talk from just being a good listener all my career. But the second book was definitely easier. The first book took me 3 years to go from idea to publish. The second book looks like it's going to take a year.
Yeah, it's a very much like a Dick Wolf kind of thing. You have everything. All you need to do is change the case. So good for you, and I wish you luck with it. I just before I let you go, a question occurred to me because I have been called for jury duty more times than I think anybody on the planet, and I haven't really. I've served on one jury. Most of the time, I get there, and while they're deliberating about picking the jury and all that stuff, the case gets a deal gets made, a plea deal or something like that. Are you happy when that happens, or is that because I would feel like as whatever you do in anything, when you're getting ready to go to battle, you psyched up for it now, and human nature is like maybe I would like this to get settled beforehand, but then as it gets closer you're ready for it, and then that happens, a deal gets made. Is that disappointing, or do you look forward to that, a deal being made because they brought the jury in? Now the pressure is on the defendant to kind of either plea down or something. It seems that way to me.
Yeah, well, each case is different, but I kind of liken it to being an actor on the stage who has prepared a play or a musical for production, and you get all the way to opening night and the curtain's about to rise. Your natural tendencies as a performer, you want to do it. You don't want to like settle it, because I'm ready to roll and I love being on stage and communicating with the jury. I used to have a rule, and many prosecutors do, that like if you want to plead, here's my best plea offer. It will expire when we go to motions, which is frequently like a month before the trial. If we get through motions and we go to trial, there's no more deals. You have to plead guilty to everything on the day of the trial. Sometimes that happens too, but I remember a case I did where it was not going well for me, and the jury was deliberating forever. I mean, they were out for like 2 days and looking to go through the weekend. And I got together with the defense attorney and we worked out a deal while the jury was deliberating. And it was to my satisfaction because I saw that there was some risk involved. I might lose the case. So I worked out the best thing I could, whether the guy went to jail for 5 years instead of 20 or something, whatever. I can't remember the details, but I wrapped it up. And then the judge called the jury out and was like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you. We don't need you anymore. You can go home now. And
That's what I got all the time.
They were completely like, what? We just wasted a week doing this. But hey, you didn't come to a conclusion. So we had to bail on you. Yeah, so I mean, but plea bargaining, I mean, we could talk another hour just on that alone. But that's where you try to resolve the case. It's if it's a slam dunk winner, then I have less incentive to plead it out. As a defense attorney, if you know you're going to get crushed, you have every incentive to try and save your guy from going to jail or mitigating the sentence as much as possible.
Yeah, in some cases you have to have a poker face, like you were saying. You were alluding to. You might not have the strongest case, and you want to make a deal, but you can't let them know that. It's like playing poker in a way, right?
Yeah, well, it's definitely like playing poker. It's like buying a used car. You never let the other side know what your leverage is or your position. But I know that when I became a defense attorney, I got offered a lot of good pleas from young prosecutors because they knew that I was a fighter, and they were like, I don't want to deal with this guy in a courtroom. Just, give his guy a misdemeanor and we'll call it a day. I got a lot of good plea offers because I had had years fighting those fights and building a reputation. So that was one of the perks of switching to the other side.
Very cool. Well, I thank you for getting up early and being on the program. I wish you a lot of luck with the book. I will put it in my newsletter. And people listening right now, axfoster.com. You can go buy the book right now and learn more about the book and get it. And it sounds like a fascinating story. I wish you great luck with it. And do please, when your next book comes out, if you're so inclined, please come back and let us help you promote that as well.
Sure. It's been a great conversation. Great questions make for an interesting discussion. Thank you very much. Got some new stuff that no one's ever asked me before. It was a good talk.
I
Thanks a
appreciate
lot
that.
for having me on.
Thanks. Have a great day and bye for now. And hope to see you again. Bye for now. X Foster, folks. Interesting stuff there. I want a question for the people in the chat room right now. Seriously, and I want you to be as honest as you can about this. Would you, call for jury duty, be honest enough with yourself first, and then with the judge or however it is with the attorneys that you have to answer to? Could you be honest enough to say, I can't be fair in this case? It takes a personal strength to be able to do that. I don't know. I know myself that I definitely, in the case of the United States versus Donald Trump, I would have to say I've made up my mind already. I made up my mind 3 years ago, 4 years ago on this. I can't, as much as I would like to be part of the people who make that decision. I can't do it fairly. I can't be fair. I can't listen to both sides of the evidence. I know this about myself. Could you do that? That's the question for the chat room. I'm going to take a really short break and be right back. But while I'm gone, I hope there's some answers to that question and some honest answers, and we can talk about it when I get back. I will be right back. I promise. This is a really short break.
Hey, yeah, mind dog, yeah, mind dog. If you ready for some action, this dog sure to keep you laughing. Let's go. Mind dog, yeah, mind dog. Don't roll, don't play fetch, only here to keep your interest. This is the show that you've been missing, full of comedians and musicians, plenty of interviews, entertaining. Keep it funny, there ain't no debating. Call the man, you never know what they gon' say. Bean Flicker Kelly and Whiskey Dick Willie Conway. So authentic and straight raw, pushing the limits when they talk, doing it live when they stream. Mind Dog TV, yeah, so crazy, getting intense. The dogs are wild, better beware before you hop over the fence. Mind Dog, yeah, Mind Dog. If you ready for some action, this dog sure to keep you laughing. Let's go. Mind Dog, hey, Mind Dog. Don't roll, don't play fetch, only here to keep your interest. Let's go. Come have coffee with the dog.
We are awaiting Andrea Vicuña, comedian, actor, writer from Los Angeles, California. You know what? There might be some time zone issue. Every time we have somebody on from Los Angeles or from California or the West Coast, anywhere, not every time, but majority of the time, we end up with some confusion about time zones and things like that. Why in 2023 are time zones still so difficult to figure out? I don't know, but they seem to be. We are I'm talking behind the Green Space banner here. Green Space is one of the sponsors of the program here in Long Island. GreenSpaceLI.com, one of the best places to go for your legal marijuana and CBD health and wellness products. It's variety of things from vapes to everything you can think of, to edibles, flour, all that kind of stuff available at greenspace.com. We're proud to be working with them. Please check them out, greensspaceli.com. And if I only had a guy who could push a button and get that out of my face, I would be much better off. Willie, as I mentioned, is not Whiskey Dick Willie is not with us today. He is in South Dakota in Sioux Falls, watching Sioux Fall, and doing another weekend comedy show there. And we wish him great luck. And we are expecting Andrea Vicuña. She's from Spain, which is why I get the Vicuña. I would not necessarily be trying to pronounce it that way, but I'm almost certain the ya is important. Vicuña. And now, after all that, when she gets here, I'm probably going to get it wrong. I will check on her to make sure she's got the time right. We only solidified this just a couple of days ago. It was supposed to be a short one today with just AX being on the program until probably 2 days ago when we kind of solidified this. So she might be lost in the sauce. And I hate to have you just sit here and watch me email her while I'm trying to rectify the situation here. Maybe I'll play a music video while I try to take care of this. How about that? Will that work? Yeah, I'll play one of my music videos and just be back in 2 minutes, I guess. Let's see. I'll play this one.
I don't know about advanced mathematics. Quantum physics only hurts my brain. I don't know about the hole in the ozone. I don't know about acid rain. I'm confounded by the mysteries of living. There's a lot that I can figure out. I don't know about the ways of religion. Took my faith and turned it into doubt. But I know I love you. I got a heart that tells me so. Yes, I do. Well, I don't know much, but I know what I know. I don't know about higher education. Kinda wish I would've stayed in school. Can't stay focused and I lose my concentration. Never learned about the golden rule. Sheer confusion is my logical conclusion. Thinking hard is just a waste of time. Is it a miracle or optical illusion? I only know that it blows my mind. I don't know about Jesus. I know all about rock and roll. Yes, it's true. Well, I don't know much, but I know what I know. I don't know about your crazy superstitions. I don't know about UFOs. I don't know about crooked politicians. I do believe we had enough of those. I don't know about the latest pop idol. I don't know about his big hit song. But I know about the fight for survival. Something I'm smart, but I could be wrong. I know a little about Texas. I know all about New Mexico. Yes, I do. Well, I don't know much. I know what I know. Well, I don't know much, but I know what I know. You know I don't know much, but I know what I know.
I can't believe that's 20 years old already. Uh, in the chat room, not too many people answering the questions. We got Ian saying he ain't got no time for no jury duty. And not AXGT. I'm sorry. One of these days, I am definitely going to be institutionalized with this cognitive decline thing that I got going on. GD says, I am dispassionate enough. I don't believe he's being honest here. I am dispassionate enough. GD, if you want to come in and discuss this, he's dispassionate enough to to be fair. It's what can be proved, not what is known. I know you. I know you a little bit. I don't know you well now. We never broke bread. We never hung out. We never uh, spent significant time together. But I know you through conversation enough that I have a feeling that you're kidding yourself a little bit there. But if you want to come in and discuss it, because I think, yeah, it's what can be proved, but that's not what's fair. What's fair is that if somebody is a criminal, that they pay for their crimes. They are held accountable. That and not being because a prosecutor failed to, on every technicality or something. That's not necessarily fair. That's justice. That's how our justice system works. And if you, the case hasn't been proved beyond a reasonable doubt, but I think in some cases when things are so public, and we've seen them in front of our faces. The alleged crimes are something that there were 320 million witnesses to. I don't think we can kind of just separate ourselves. Come on, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I allow for the possibility that I am very wrong on this. What is Ian saying? Uh, that was like two verses sandwiching one long guitar solo. I think it was three verses. And there was one short guitar solo in the middle and one at the end. Come on. You're beating me up over my music now, Ian. Come on. I'm sorry. If you're curious about the football picks, I have to say this. I won last night and Willie lost. New York Giants lost, which breaks my heart. But I had to pick against them, and San Francisco 49ers beat them 30-12. I think the point spread, if I remember correctly, was 9.5. I don't care if it was 13; they still won. I think 13 was the biggest spread we had yesterday. But Giants lost. I'm not happy about that, but for me personally, I'm one up on Willie. The tie has been broken, and I am now leading in the football battle with Willie. So that's where we stand now. Of course, the big weekend ahead of us, that will change. Anyway, my next guest is here, Andrea Vicuña. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. I hope I'm pronouncing her first name right. Andrea Vicuña is a Los Angeles-based stand-up comedian, actress, and filmmaker, and her work can be seen on Amazon Prime, Hulu, Wahaha.com, and many others. I don't know if familiar with Wahaha. Anyway, she's here now. Please open your ears, open your minds, and help me welcome in Andrea Vicuña. Am I saying either of those right?
Yes, it's Vicuña. It's a Spanish name, so it's fine.
Right, from Spain, not from the Latin American countries, but from Spain. There's a difference, right?
There is a difference. Not many people know it, but yeah, it's in Europe.
Yeah, right. When did you come to Spain, and did you come from Spain? Did you come with the idea of America is the place to make it in entertainment? Was that the reason you came?
Well, actually, I came with a scholarship for an acting school to LA. I couldn't miss the chance, but I really thought I was just going to be here 6 months. That was the initial idea, but now it's been 10 years. So I'm very happy of the decision, but it wasn't in my plan, no.
Okay. Comedy, was that always in your plan?
Actually, not either. In Spain, I was just a normal person, but when I got to LA, I realized that I was very stereotyped as a Latina. I get it, the accent, the look, but I didn't know that the roles I would be offered would be so stereotypical. And that's where comedy came in because it was my way to cope with it.
It's funny now. My own misconceptions about ethnicity and all that stuff. Even though your accent is very Spanish, I would not consider you a Latino. What I consider Latinas are Latin American people, and that's just and so it's just a different thing than actual Spanish people. And I think the distinction is hard to actually explain, but I think it is very different growing up on one side of the Atlantic versus the other, and the culture differences. You described yourself as a Latina. I don't think most people think of Spaniards as Latinas or Latino.
Yeah, I think the thing is like people don't many times don't know the difference. We all speak the same language, and of course, there's nothing wrong with one thing or the other. I just wasn't aware of it.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
just
You all speak the same language, but not necessarily the same dialect. Uh,
exactly.
and it varies. So now it's stand-up comedy. How did you get into that? How did you go from acting and filmmaking? I'm assuming that's where you started with the acting and filmmaking into stand-up. How did you get drawn into that world?
Well, I would come back from my auditions or my experiences in Hollywood and tell my friends, and they would always laugh because they couldn't believe all the different things I would go through. So then I was like, okay, there's something here that there's a comedy. And also, I would even, the disappointments that I would have, I would take them better with comedy. So it was just like a kind of therapy in both ways. So it was great. Yeah.
Now, what are your can you articulate, or have you even thought about long-term goals? Is it to because I always think I know I'm stumbling with and being awkward with question, but I often say New York is a place where people who are serious about comedy come to get good at their craft. LA is where they go to be stars or be famous and all that kind of stuff and get noticed for television films and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like you've gone in reverse. You were doing acting and filmmaking, and then went into comedy. So you must have a real strong desire to be funny and and study the craft of comedy. But LA is it generally works the other way. You go you get start in comedy clubs, hoping somebody will notice you, and then you get picked up to be put in films and all that stuff. Can you articulate your long term uh, goals and prospects?
Yes. So I was in LA because of course there's more work for my acting career. And I started doing stand up. There's so many stand up comedy clubs here. But I've also started to notice that getting out of town, so I've been doing comedy in Vegas, in Chicago, in Bakersfield, in San Diego. So I'm starting to realize that also if you expand your horizon out of LA, you are exposed to other comedy. So for now, LA has been headquarters because it's what I know, but I don't doubt maybe going to New York. My point now is that I'm just getting longer sets, I'm featuring, I'm headlining, and things like this. So I think it's a process to also decide if you just want to do a few gigs here to like get it out of your system, or if you actually want to take it as a job, then you have to start getting out of LA and going into just longer sets and yeah. So that my goal is to keep doing that, but also expand out of LA.
Yeah. Now, the world of stand-up comedy. Oh,
Yes.
we've never had that happen before. No, we actually.
Trying to find my charger. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. We actually have had that happen before. I'm just acting awkward here. Uh, can you hear me while I'm asking you questions while you walk away?
Yes, I can. I can. Yes.
Okay. Oh, we got some kind of animal there. I see
Yes.
probably a dog.
A dog. Yes. Yes. Sorry. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Uh, the the world of stand-up comedy is different. Maybe it's not different than filmmaking, but a lot of it depends on networking, but more than networking, getting into little cliques. I call them cliques, but having done this long enough, I've noticed that every successful comic is part of a small group of people that are friendly, not really all that competitive, but part of one group that doesn't necessarily get along with another group. Acting is much different, especially in LA. It's like you got to be a politician and be friendly with everybody. With the networking stuff, do you have a group of people that you associate with and do shows with?
Well, I think the magical thing about comedy is that you don't have to fit a certain physical appearance. I think you just have to be a good writer, and people start respecting you because of your craft. But I did start in like Flappers comedy here, doing some classes. So that is kind of the place that I fall into. I host mics there, or I practice my sets. But then, yeah, of course, you start meeting different comedians that you start liking. You start doing shows together. I've recently been doing Spanglish with Paul Rodriguez in La Factory. So things like this, I think you start meeting people that you like their comedy and start tagging along. So I think there's definitely a support system and community that you want. But of course, there's other people that I don't like or I don't really love their comedy. So I will start getting away.
Yeah. You talk about writing. How prolific are you? Do you have hours, or do you have an hour, or?
So I'm very chaotic. I'm not like the person to wake up and start writing, but I get moments of inspiration, and I try to at least every day write for an hour or sit down in my terrace and mind map some ideas. So I'm trying to be more consistent in that. Sometimes going to open mics gets the juices going, or I just start to grab words that I might have fun with. So I'm trying to be more prolific, but I cannot say that I'm like 8 in the morning writing because that's not it.
Right. Stylistically, could you are you a storyteller? Are you a joke teller? How would you describe yourself as?
um, I think I'm working on stories because sometimes you have stories that are great, but then you need to work on punchlines in between. If not, like the end is funny, but the rest is just like we're waiting. So I think I'm more like situations. So like I'm the strange person in the room. In my case, as I'm the immigrant. I have a lot of material regarding that. That then if I do stand up in Spanish, I'm like, oh, I have less trauma in Spanish because I'm just a normal person. But in
Right.
English, I am the odd person in the room, the observant, and I think that works very well for me. Um,
Very interesting stuff. Now, in Spain, were you exposed to a lot of stand-up comedy? Probably, it's hard to. Yes, there's a lot of
no,
stand-up.
not nothing compared to here. Like there are a few of them. Like I love Leo Harlem. I would go with to see them live, but it's like a smaller group. There was like this Sunday night show called Club de la Comedia. So you would see one comedian. There would be one female one, the rest all men. So it was never in the radar to be a stand-up comic. Like then I do realize that I'm a funny person. I'm laughing a lot. So it really makes sense that I ended up doing this. But initially, I wanted to just be the lead in a show, uh, drama comedy, and now I do like the power that it comes from you making your own content instead of someone giving you what to say.
Wow, interesting. It's just kind of interesting that because I've never been to Spain.
Mm.
That's a song. I know it is. I've never been to Spain. Um, Tom Segura, who is a very successful comedian, does shows in English and he does shows in Spanish. And do you do that? Do you? Because it's always curious to me that jokes have to be altered for
Yeah.
and stories need to be altered because language is so the way language is used. It can't one might be really funny in English, but if you take a direct translation, it wouldn't be funny at all in Spanish. Do you do shows in Spanish?
So the other day I went to do a clean set to a TV show in Spanish, and I really had to think about it because it doesn't apply. Like the same things don't apply, and also like things that would be funny in Spain and here they wouldn't work because like here I have all this that Spaniards don't look at me and see a Latina and all these things and how you my accent, like things that play in my favor in English. In Spanish, I would have to find comedy in other things or in like how now I see them from afar and I'm like, oh my god, we're crazy in Spain, but I couldn't see it when I was there. So I do have to do different sets. I've done way less stand up in Spanish, but I still, yeah, I saw a clip the other day. I had done 11 minutes, like 2014 in Spain. So, hey, I think I can do it, but way more experience here.
Wow, it's so interesting to me. And you know what? Just being who you are, your personality, I think is this is going to sound like I'm flirting with you. I promise I'm not. I think you're adorable. You're very charming. Does any of this kind of what the European allure of that you're bringing in your personality, does that work to your advantage, do you think, or does that make you different than everybody? We see cookie cutter, or white guy, black guy,
Yeah.
Hispanic guy from a Mexican guy, but we don't see a lot of Europeans come. Does it work to your advantage?
Well, I think it definitely makes me more memorable. I always wear a hat.
Yeah.
I have the accent. Not a lot of people are from Spain, so they're like the girl from Spain. I think that makes me memorable. But I don't like. I always, as a female comic, want to show my writing as the first thing I want them to remember. But of course, like I think that sticks in their head. Like this is a weird thing we don't have normally. Let's put her in a show and see what she has to say.
Ian in the chat room says, "Stop flirting with the guests." You didn't say that when AX Foster was on earlier today. Uh, anyway, and I was being nice to him too. I'm nice to all my guests. Anyway, I'm sincere in that. I think your personality, I could see enjoying you, even if you weren't being funny. I mean, I'm just enjoying listening to you talk anyway. But business wise, are you a self-contained business person, or do you have somebody a manager, agent, and all that kind of stuff? Because of so many stand-ups, it's a lone wolf type of profession where a lot of people start out. They are a one man, one woman shop where I have to do all the bookings, I have to do all the marketing, all that kind of stuff myself. Tell me about that for you.
So I do have a manager and agent for acting, but now that the strike is happening, I really focused on stand-up and started to look how do we make this into a profitable business. So for now, it's me, but I've been like reaching out to so many clubs. That's how I got my headlining gigs in Vegas, paid gigs, which also in LA many times you're doing stand-up with bringer shows, which for people that don't know is like you'll do this show, but you also have to bring people and you're not getting paid. So it's not a very profitable business.
Oh, I hate the bringer shows.
Yeah, I
And
hate them. I cannot do it anymore. I feel like it's a scam. So I don't do that. But yeah, so for now, I have been reaching to agencies, and now like I feel like I have certain bookers that will book me and pay me on more of a regular basis. But yeah, I would love to have a manager to just again organize a tour or something like that. But I also understand that I have to have like a consistent big set, maybe better taping. So yeah, I'm just trying to take it like acting, like have your videos ready, your photos ready, your press, and submit that. And it's working lately very well. But
uh,
reaching out for the manager.
it's a lot of work that you don't sign up for, and this is true in anything in the creative arts. Is people who get into it, we get into it as young people, thinking the job is just performing, and that's never it. I mean, there's so much more to it. I don't see a lot of social media. Maybe I will now that I've had you on the program, because I noticed 2 days ago when we had Dave Landau on, all of a sudden every other reel I see is Dave Landau, and it's weird. Like the algorithm knows what I'm talking about
Yeah,
on this program or who I'm talking to, and then
you're
all of a sudden,
listening.
yeah. Are you doing a lot of that real stuff, and how much investment of time investment do
So
you?
by default, I do post on Instagram because of acting and because I enjoy it. So lately, I've been also I know that now the reels with the writing on top work very well, and that's how people know that you're working. So I am definitely that's what people are checking your Instagram the first thing. So I am posting reels. I don't want to post the whole set, so then I have my clips in private.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that now you have to play part of the game. If you want to be in the game, you have to post those reels and be active. With people seeing you in other shows, it's going to get you booked in.
It's really interesting. I'm certain that the majority of comedians would disagree with me on this, but I have seen, because I get inundated with reels, and they are addictive. And I've seen material done in reels and stuff, and then I go to see the person live, and they're doing the same material. I like it. I enjoy it, even though I've heard the joke before. Sometimes I laugh harder. I get the nuances a little bit more. So, but comedians are generally paranoid about burning material and or repeating something that somebody might have heard before. I would not necessarily have that attitude because, again, I've seen stuff. Joe List's most recent special, I have seen him do all that stuff live. Oh, not all of it, but a good part of that special live. But I still laughed my ass off when I saw it on the special. I'm not really paranoid, or I wouldn't be paranoid about burning material. What's your attitude towards that?
So I got a great advice from a comedian called Shay Freeman. He was like, repeat your set a million times. Why? Because you start the nuances, the way you say something, where you stop for the laughs, and then they always fall there. Things like this. If you keep changing your set, you're gonna have original material, but it's not like worked on. So then it's not like that perfect timing. So now I have like a 10-minute set that I know by heart that I can do anytime. You tell me now, do it, and I'll do it. And that I've done a million times. And sometimes that person comes to see me, I'm like, oh, you're going to see it again. And they're so happy. They're like, oh, now you changed this, or now you did this different. So I think we get very self-conscious because we want to feel like I do so much different material. And sometimes it's better to have good material than different material.
Yeah, I've been in because I do get accused and rightfully so. I mean, rightfully accused because I do it. I compare music and comedy, but the experience people want to hear the hits in the music show. They want to hear your greatest hits, and I have been in rooms in comedy clubs where people have actually requested yelled up, do the bit about it, whatever, and it's always interesting to me to see comedians really not wanting to do that, always needing, and I get and always wanting to keep developing your act and improving and growing as an artist, but sometimes your fans just want to hear the hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a great metaphor. Like the hits of like a band, even if you've heard it a million times, you're like, that one, please play that one.
Yeah. What? I'm reading in the chat room. Matt's next book will be titled "Rightfully Accused." Thank you. Maybe it's because I talked to a lawyer earlier in the day. That language was still stuck in my head. Uh, any Now, when you came over here, did your family come with you, or did you come as a young woman by yourself?
So I came here because I woke up in Spain and I had through Facebook applied for a scholarship in Los Angeles. And my family was like, sure, go there. It was a crazy idea, but they were like, sure, just go and test it out. So it was 6 months of acting in LA. And then I got acting visa for 2 years. Then I did a woman in comedy cohort in Chicago. So I stayed 2 more years. Then another one. And I just got my green card. So it was all like, I'll try for a little. Well, I'll stay a bit longer. And here I am 10 years later.
Right. What I'm thinking, what's in the back of my mind here, is the film The Rose, which is loosely based on the Janis Joplin story. Janis Joplin always wanted to be recognized in her hometown because she went away from her hometown, became this enormously successful star, but never felt like the love from her hometown. And part of her quest was to go home and show the world, look what I've become. Do you have some of that in you?
Yeah, I think there is a part of like that pride because also like the life that people my age in Spain are having is so different from mine. They're having kids, they're married, they're like at home at night. I'm here doing all this crazy thing. So there's always that part of me that wants them to accept my life as an artist, which in Spain is not as normal, right? Like here, you can be an artist and people respect it and like, sure, you're a comedian. In Spain, it's like, yeah, but what do you really do? So there's a part of me that always wants that approval, but I'm getting more and more rid of it because it's just like a different choice, and I'm happy here. So there is that. But I also think in my head, I'm like, I already made it. I've been surviving by myself in LA for 10 years. So that
Right.
counts.
Right. Now, in your introduction, I mentioned Amazon Prime, Hulu, and Wahaha. I don't know what
It's called Hoo Ha Ha. It's
Wahaha.
it's called Hoo Ha Ha, and it's Elizabeth Banks' page for funny women, and they just choose like shorts or things you can submit funny content made by women, and they'll showcase it there if they think it's up to quality. So
Very, very cool stuff. What's on there? Is that your film, or do you have a comedy special on there?
no. It's all films. So I also started writing and producing my own content when I was doing acting, as all the roles I would get was like the maid, the mistress, the second wife, it's like all this stuff. So I started writing, so I wrote this show and short film called Stereotyped about being stereotyped. So it's a comedy. So that is in Hujaja, the short film, and in Amazon Prime, the series. And then yeah, I just during the pandemic I did some shorts. So just like some content is on those sides.
Right. Now, your a big part of your persona is about um, chasing your passion, chasing your dreams, and fulfill, doing what you want to do with your life. I think that's a really important message for people. Takes a lot of courage for you. Even more courage. I mean, it meant leaving your home, coming to a country that you probably were filled with perceptions of by the media, Los Angeles, Hollywood, all that kind of stuff. But it still takes a large degree of courage just to kind of chase after your dream and pursue your dream. Some people do it recklessly and without abandon and just kind of reckless abandon and just throw caution to the wind. Talk to me about the balance of wanting to pursue your dream, but doing it realistically in a way that you're not going to end up starving it on the street. Because there is a balance there that needs to be having a dream, but being smart about it.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say this because I have a bit in my stand about being smart, which is what they always say. My brother was the intelligent one, and I'm the smart one. So I'm a very hustler person. So I came here, of course, with the dreams like tomorrow I'm gonna be discovered in the street. Then you realize that's not what really happens when you're here, and people really like come in with all the energy and then deflate and then just end up being a barista or end up in another job or leave thinking they didn't achieve their dreams. For me, it was more of like I have to sustain myself and also have time to have my dreams. So I don't want to have a 9 to 5. So it's just been like adapting to different things. I would try this job. Okay, this doesn't work. Okay, now I'm a building manager, which allows me to have this beautiful home and I don't have to pay for it. So then I can be doing other things. So I'm just like a smart person in seeking opportunities that help me fulfill what I want to do. And LA is a very expensive city. You have to have a car, all this stuff. So I think I kind of like set my head to help with being an artist, but also have a good mental. Like I hike, I do other things that is not just sitting here pondering about why haven't I made it, which is a lot of people in LA just waiting for the door to knock, and that's not gonna happen. You have to get out there, but you also have to have a life. You have to travel. You have to do other things. You know.
Well, good for you. I think, what you just talked about is that balance between practical and artistic mind. And I think it's uncommon to have that balance. Most people who are artists are 100% artists and not practical, business minded, or common sense minded in any way. I think it's important to have that. I think I lack that. I know I lack that. And I know a lot of people in the entertainment industry just lack that completely. So it's unusual to find. So good for you to be able to develop that. You think it's a cultural thing? Do you think that comes from your upbringing in Spain?
I think my dad definitely always has had an influence. Like he was like, "Sure, be an artist if you want, but I'm not giving you money." So then I really had to either do that or live in the streets. So it wasn't like there were a lot of options. But I do appreciate from him that he's very resourceful, and I've seen that in my life. So I think I just apply that. But I think what you say about the artist mindset and other people's mindset is very hard to understand from outside. That all you think is about, oh, my creations, blah blah. But I think you also have to again have a business mentality and think, how is my creation going to reach other people? Because we
Right.
stuck in that. So yeah, I think a good balance is good.
Excellent, excellent stuff. Well, good for you. I wish you great success. Now, do you have anything coming up that you want to let people know about? Like any kind of
Yeah, I'm gonna be performing if anybody's in the LA area, or just like I will be performing in Bakersfield in the Well in October. In Vegas, I'm headlining 2 shows in October. I'm going to Florida in at the beginning of November. So yeah, just a bunch of shows. If you want to follow me at Andrea Vicuña, I'll put it in the chat if anybody can see.
Yeah, it's in the scroll. The link is in the description,
Okay.
and from there they can find your social media. Now, it was interesting before, and I'll let you go in just a minute. But interesting before you said Instagram is your prime, because I find everybody I talk to has a unique and different kind of perspective on which is the most profitable or makes sense the most to social media platform. For you,
Yeah.
it's Instagram. Some people are on Twitter. I find a lot of comedians on Twitter. Some people prefer Facebook, but it's just weird to me or interesting to me that everybody picks one that they find. Are you on TikTok and doing that?
I'm on TikTok. I just feel like on Instagram I already have like a following, so it's more rewarding for me to post because then I have more response, more feedback. TikTok is something I have to post more on. I think you have to post like several times a day, blah blah. So I'm still trying to learn that. And yeah, but I try to post on both. Facebook kind of abandoned it a little, but still have it there for birthdays and that stuff. And yeah, Twitter not really got into like the typing it. I'm more like video or photos or funny things that I share. So yeah, for now, Instagram is my favorite.
You know what's interesting to me is this Threads thing, which is supposed to be like a hybrid between Instagram and Twitter, and it was everybody got on it. I know I got on it within the first 2 days, and nothing. I don't get any traction there. I post the same stuff I post on Instagram and Twitter, and nobody pays any attention to it there. I feel so invisible. it's a it's a way. I feel bad because I know they invested billions of dollars in the whole thing, and
Yeah.
then for nobody to use it's a total shame. So
Yeah, it's like, like something suddenly will pop up, and then so I don't know how long this will last, but for now, Instagram is mine.
right. So people can follow you at Andrea Vicuña. Vicuña. The spelling is in the title and it's in the description. There's a link there to AndreaVicuña.com and then at Andrea Vicuña on all the social media. So very good. Thank you for coming. Thank you for getting
Thank
up. I
you.
know it's early in LA, and I appreciate every time anybody from California comes on or anywhere on the West Coast comes on. Wish you great success. Please do come back sometime, especially like if you got an upcoming show like coming up that weekend and you want to help boost sales for it. Please do come back. We'll do what we can to help.
Thank
Anyway,
you. Thank you for giving an opportunity for comedians.
pleasure to meet you, and wish you great success. And hopefully we'll see you again. Bye for now. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Andrea Vicuña. I like saying that. I feel like I don't know. I feel like generally I have difficulty pronouncing names correctly. So when I have one that I get right, and it just kind of has that kind of I don't know. I don't know the word I'm looking for now, but it feels it's a nice thing that Vicuña, 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 and you got to do it with your hands like that, Vicuña. Anyway, I guess that's the show for today. Govs, by the way, I know I'm off the Govs network, but Govs tonight had some free tickets available. Last minute, to trying to pack the room, so you can get in for free. Call Govs right now. Go to govs.com and Govs Radio? No, go to governors.com. It's separate sites between the radio side, podcasting side, and the actual club side, governorscomedyclub.com. Anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't hear enough about this jury question. I got two responses, which I'm sure there will be some mail coming later today. I have to spend some time. I have to drive 40 miles now to go to a motor vehicle to put a car on the road. Oh yeah, Anthony Vacumia. Ian's batting 1,000, except for being mean to me about the format of my song before. Other than that, he's batting 1,000 today. Anyway, that's the show for you today. I want you to remember to turn on your radio on Monday. Who do we have on Monday? I think I have Jay Moranti on Monday. I just want to make sure that at Jay Moranti, it's Yom Kippur. So a lot of it, I expect a big Jewish audience since they can't leave the house. Although it's a solemn Jewish holiday. It's one of these Day of Atonement is what it's called. So you got to forgive the people and all that kind of stuff. And so maybe we won't have a big Jewish audience on that day. But I figure a lot of people will be home. Some people have the Jewish holiday off from work. So join us Monday. Willie will be back, and we'll recap maybe, hopefully, we'll still have power. We have a tropical storm coming in, but hopefully we'll still be here, and hopefully you will be too. Please visit us on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your issues with Andy Friday, and we'll see you Monday. Turn on your radio.
Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me.